Let me tell you something that nobody in a linen blazer standing in front of a rented Lamborghini is ever going to say to your face. You are not free. You think you are. You wake up when you want. Or at least you tell yourself you do. You work from a coffee shop. You set your own hours. You call yourself an entrepreneur. You call yourself a freelancer. You call yourself a content creator. You call yourself location independent. Like that's a personality trait, and not just a way of saying you answered emails from Lisbon once. Honey, sugar, I need you to sit down for this one. Because while you were busy buying the aesthetic of freedom, the ring light, the laptop sticker, the co-working space membership, the noise-canceling headphones you financed over 12 months, someone else was building generational wealth. And they were building it with your money. They were building it with your rent. They were building it with your subscription fees. They were building it with every single dollar you spent performing independence instead of actually achieving it. You didn't buy freedom, corazon. You bought a costume. And I have the receipts. Now, if you came here for somebody to pat your head and tell you that hustle culture just needs a little tweak, a vision board refresh, maybe a new morning routine, baby, the door is right there. No hard feelings. Go watch something with soft piano music and an aesthetically pleasing desk setup. But if you are tired, and I mean bone tired, soul tired, checking your bank account, with one eye closed tired, then stay. Because what I'm about to show you is not motivational. It is not inspirational. It is a financial autopsy of the life they sold you, and we are going to look at every single organ. Stay if you want the truth. Leave if you want the fantasy. I'll wait. Good. Now let's talk about how this machine was built. The freedom economy, the gig economy, the creator economy, the freelance revolution, whatever they're calling it this week, was not invented for you. I need you to understand that at a cellular level. It was not designed by people sitting around a table saying, how do we give workers more autonomy and dignity? That meeting never happened. What happened was a different meeting entirely. And in that meeting, someone said, how do we get people to do the same work, take on all the risk, buy all their own equipment, pay their own taxes, fund their own health insurance, and feel grateful for the opportunity? That was the meeting. And they solved it. They solved it with language. They took, you have no job security, no benefits, no pension, and no legal protection. And they translated it into freedom. They took, you are responsible for your own destitution if this doesn't work out. And they translated it into entrepreneurial risk. They took, we don't have to pay you when there's no work. And they translated it into flexibility. And then, and this is the part that should make you furious, they sold it back to you as an identity. They made you proud of it. They put it in your Instagram bio. They made it a movement. They gave it a hashtag. You are not a free agent, querido. You are an unpaid HR department, an unpaid IT department, an unpaid accounting department, and an unpaid marketing department, all wrapped up in one exhausted human body, generating profit for platforms that own none of the risk and all of the infrastructure. Uber doesn't own the car. Airbnb doesn't own the house. DoorDash doesn't own the kitchen. But they own the customer. They own the algorithm. They own the price. And the second the math stops working for them, they change the math. Not their problem. Your problem. That is not freedom. That is sharecropping with a better app. Now, let's do the math. Because I am not here to make speeches. I'm here to show you numbers. Let's take someone I'll call Marcus. Marcus is 31. He left his 9-to-5 2 years ago because he was told, by podcasts, by YouTube videos, by men in rented Lamborghinis, that he was too smart to work for someone else. Marcus now freelances in digital marketing. He makes, on a good month, about $5,000. He is proud of this. $5,000 sounds like freedom. Let's look at Marcus's freedom. Marcus has no employer-sponsored health insurance. He pays for a mid-tier plan on the marketplace. $480 a month. That's not a copay. That's just the right to have insurance. $5,760 a year, just to exist in a body without financial catastrophe. Marcus pays self-employment tax. That's 15.3% on top of his regular income tax. An employee splits that with their employer, 7.65% each. Marcus pays all of it. On $60,000 a year, that's an extra $4,590 that a salaried employee at the same income level does not pay. Marcus has no 401k match. The average employer match is about 3% of salary. On $60,000, that's $1,800 a year in free money that Marcus does not receive. Money that, invested over 30 years at a 7% return, becomes $172,000. Gone. Because Marcus wanted freedom. Marcus has an irregular income, which means he cannot qualify for the best mortgage rates, even though he makes decent money. He pays a premium on everything that requires proof of stable income. Car loans, apartment applications, business credit. That premium, conservatively, costs him about $2,000 a year in worse terms and higher deposits. Marcus uses a co-working space because working from his apartment makes him feel isolated and unproductive. That's $300 a month, $3,600 a year, for a desk that is not his, in a building he does not own, surrounded by other people performing freedom. Marcus has subscriptions for every tool he needs to run his business. Project management software, invoicing software, design tools, cloud storage, a CRM he barely uses, a scheduling tool, a grammar checker, a VPN, and 2 different video conferencing platforms because clients use different ones. That's, at minimum, $240 a month, $2,880 a year. Marcus does not have paid sick days. When Marcus got sick for a week last November, he lost approximately $1,250 in unbilled hours and one client who decided to go with someone more reliable. He also did not rest properly because he cannot afford to rest properly, so his recovery took 11 days instead of 5. That's another $750. Marcus has no paid vacation. The average American employee receives 15 days of paid vacation. At Marcus's effective hourly rate, when you divide his annual income by the actual hours he works, including nights and weekends and the anxiety that follows him into the shower, 15 days is worth approximately $3,460 of income he cannot take without consequence. Are you adding this up? Let me do it for you. Health insurance premium, $5,760. Extra self-employment tax, $4,590. Lost employer 401k match, $1,800. Premium borrowing costs, $2,000. Co-working membership, $3,600. Software subscriptions, $2,880. Lost income from illness, $2,000. Lost vacation value, $3,460. That is $26,090 a year that Marcus pays for the privilege of calling himself free. Marcus makes $60,000 a year. His actual purchasing power, compared to a salaried employee earning $52,000 with full benefits, is lower. He works more hours. He carries more stress. He has less security. And he has, I want you to really hear this, less money. Marcus is not an entrepreneur. Marcus is a corporation's best customer. He buys his own tools. He absorbs his own risk. He self-manages. He self-motivates. He self-destructs quietly at 2 a.m. with a cold cup of coffee and a client email he's been drafting for 45 minutes. Now let's convert that $26,000 into what it actually is. Because money is not paper. Money is time. Money is life. At Marcus's effective hourly rate of approximately $22, $26,000 is 1,182 hours of his life. That is 49 days, 7 weeks, almost 2 months of Marcus's one and only irreplaceable life, spent working so that he can pay for the infrastructure of appearing free. Marcus is not paying rent to a landlord. Marcus is paying rent to an ideology. Now let's talk about how they sell it to you. Because the machine is very smart. And the machine knows that eventually people start to notice that something is wrong. They feel the exhaustion. They feel the math not adding up. They start to look around and ask uncomfortable questions. So the machine prepared for that moment. And the machine's answer was, sell them the problem as the solution. You're burned out from the hustle? Here's a productivity course. Only $997. Taught by someone who is only rich because people keep buying his productivity courses. You're lonely in your co-working space? Here's a mastermind group, a community, a membership. $200 a month to be in a room, virtual, of course, with other people who are also lonely and also spending $200 a month. You're anxious about your inconsistent income? Here's a financial planning app built specifically for freelancers, $9.99 a month. Also, here's a course on passive income. And here's a book. And here's a podcast. And here's a coach. And here's a retreat in Bali where you will spend $4,000 learning to detach from scarcity mindset. Because the problem, they assure you, is your mindset. Not the structural extraction of your labor. Your mindset. They turned your wound into a market. They saw your exhaustion and built a wellness industry on top of it. They saw your financial anxiety and built a financial independence content ecosystem that monetizes your fear without ever threatening the systems that created it. They saw you drowning and sold you a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, influencer-approved bucket and charged you a subscription fee for it. And the most diabolical part, Mudo, the people selling you the solution are the same people or are funded by the same people who profited from the problem. The co-working space and the productivity app and the freelance platform and the course marketplace are often owned by the same pool of venture capital. They need you hustling and anxious and optimizing and spending. A rested, financially stable person who works a reasonable job with decent benefits and goes home at 5 is their nightmare. Your exhaustion is their business model. So what do you actually do? Because I am not here to just make you angry. Anger without direction is just cortisol. Here is your battle plan. 3 moves. None of them are easy. All of them are real. First, audit your freedom tax. Take 1 hour this week, not a month, 1 hour, and add up every dollar you spend that is a direct cost of your independent work. Every subscription, every tool, every membership, every premium you pay because you're self-employed. Write it down. Get a number. Because you cannot fight an enemy you refuse to look at. Most people I tell to do this exercise come back genuinely shocked. Not because the number is large, though it usually is, but because they had never looked at it as a single number before. They had been paying it in small, painless installments. Turns out the installments add up to a second rent. Know your number. Second, stop buying belonging. One of the deepest psychological hooks of the freedom economy is that it commodifies community. You pay for masterminds and co-working spaces and memberships and retreats because you are isolated, and isolation is genuinely painful, and they know that. But community does not require a subscription. Find people in your industry, in your neighborhood, in a library, online for free, who are trying to solve the same problems. Build something together. Share information freely. A freelancer who networks strategically and shares knowledge generously costs their competitors nothing and gains everything. The platforms profit from your isolation. Your genuine relationships are outside their ecosystem. Build outside the ecosystem. Third, Make rest non-negotiable and unmonetized. This is the most radical thing I will say to you today, and I mean every word of it. Do not optimize your rest. Do not track your sleep with a $100 device and then spend 20 minutes reviewing your sleep data. Do not turn your vacation into content. Do not do productive relaxation. Rest in a way that generates nothing. Rest in a way that cannot be sold. Sit somewhere quiet. Read something that has no application to your business. Cook food with your hands. Sleep without an alarm once a week. Go outside without your phone. These things cost nothing, and they are, in the world we have built, genuinely revolutionary. Because the entire machine depends on you being productive every possible second. Your deliberate, unmonetized rest is the most subversive thing you can do. It is a political act. Treat it that way. Here is what I want you to walk away with today. Freedom is real, but freedom is not an aesthetic. Freedom is not a laptop and a flight and a ring light. Freedom is the absence of someone else's claim on your time and your energy and your sleep. And you will not build that freedom by buying it from the people who profit from your captivity. You are not lazy. You are not undisciplined. You are not lacking the right morning routine or the right mindset or the right coach. You are a person being systematically extracted, and you have been convinced that the extraction is your fault and your cure is for sale. The system is not broken. Amor. The system is working exactly as designed. The question is whether you're going to keep being one of its best outputs. Tired, in debt, proud of your hustle. Or whether you are going to start doing the slow, unglamorous, unmonetizable work of actually getting free. Auntie Pearl is not selling you a course. I'm not selling you anything. I'm just an old woman who has watched too many brilliant, hardworking people die tired and broke because they confused motion with progress and performance with power. Don't be them. Now. If this cracks something open in you today, if you felt it somewhere under your sternum, where the truth tends to land, I need you to do 3 things. Subscribe, because next week we are going to talk about the specific numbers behind the passive income fantasy and why most people who chase it end up more dependent, not less. Leave a comment below and tell me, what does your freedom actually cost you every month? Add it up. Say the number out loud. You might surprise yourself. And share this with one person in your life who is working themselves to death and calling it hustle. The revolution will not be optimized. Get some rest. Auntie Pearl.